welcome back to Celebrity U Radio TV show. I'm hearing music, Jimmy.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Welcome back. I'm sorry we didn't announce our next guest. Now, I announced him before, and I took him away from you, and so that just makes you want him more.
Boy, it almost made me want to leave. I was brokenhearted. I got thrown out for someone else.
Yes,
man, I tell you.
but a lovely lady that knew
Yeah.
all about
Boy,
fashion.
no, it's cool stuff.
That was pretty
Cool
interesting
program.
stuff, wasn't it? Okay, and so we're back here with Rodger Blaker with Blaker Business Coaching, and he's going to be, I love having him back on. He's going to be continuing your series with the communicating with style and love languages. Boy, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, that's got to really make business people say, oh, that's what I want to learn about, right?
Yeah, and he brought visual aids and all that. So let's get after it because I enjoy, you're one of the best segments that we have. So, Rodger, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Let's see. This will be the second one. I had an introduction to start with, and then last week we talked about behavioral styles and be able to observe someone and watch their language, watch their environment, look at the way their office may be set up or how they're dressed and things, and we can get a lot of ideas about their behavioral style and how that comes across in the way you communicate. So that's what we covered last week, and what I announced at the end of the program was we were going to talk a little more in depth and a different angle about how to connect with people. And I want to use the basis of this as being the 5 love languages. It's a book. If anybody has not read it, doesn't know about it, you can go out and find it on Amazon.
So this is not original to you. This
Everything I come up with is every bit of my idea.
Yeah,
I'm the genius of all this. Yes.
But there's a book called The
5 Love Languages.
Okay.
And I don't remember the author right now, but it is a very good book. But when I started looking at it, it's interesting when I started going out and saying, okay, what about these same things that connect with people in the business world? Because love language, okay, that's relationship, and obviously you think more of intimate relationships, but how would that translate? So I took the word of love language and used value. Loyalty. How do you create more loyalty? So we'll look at it that way, but there's no difference in these languages, whether it is business or personal. But obviously I want to...
But it's making a deeper connection.
Yeah, and also how you impact people and have influence with them in a positive way. But also I want to be very clear here, because some of the things I'm going to cover, when it's an intimate in a marriage or something like that, some of the things you would do there, you obviously don't do it in the workplace. And so, Jimmy, why don't you go ahead and show that first slide up there. If I hadn't seen that, I would have had, let's see, is there one before that? Let's see. No, that probably. Anyway, that's the 5. Let's start. Let's just stay there, because I think this next one that I have this right order. So you've got acts of service, you got gifts, you got words of affirmation, and you got quality time, and then you have the physical touch, and that's the reason why. That's what the love languages of the book state. Obviously,
physical touch.
Let me go ahead and punch the physical touch one out right now. Obviously, we're talking about people that are mature adults, and they have good boundaries, and obviously we don't do things that are inappropriate. And obviously, too, we have attorneys that deal in legal things around that, and they look at that and their head would spin. So we don't want to refer it that way. That's just the terms used in the book. And so we want to take those and translate those in, and also give ideas, well, how would you translate those different love languages over into the business?
I think I can guess on the physical touch, but I'm going to say handshake.
Well, that's, there you go. You kind of kid. Okay, so Jimmy, the second slide, I think, is the one where I talk about the translation. Yeah, so we're going to replace love language with loyalty. So how to create more loyalty, and therefore we're going to be using terms like this. And keep in mind, the reason why I really work with people in these things and why I'm passionate about them, just like the communication styles, understanding those, just like the love languages, is earlier you had a business consultant on, and a lot of things that she does with businesses when they're very small businesses, same things I do in that area. It's really helped them put business plans, all those things together, and that all is very key and very important. But the reason why that I want to work on these things and present them to people is because you can do all that business stuff. You can go in and have your business plans, you can take your actions, and then you still wonder, why am I not successful? And one of the reasons it might be is because I don't really have the way to connect with people. The things I'm doing, the way I interact with them, really don't make a connection. It could be maybe even the way I do it maybe turn people off. And so it doesn't matter how well I may be a business person, as far as fundamental, the head stuff, if I don't have this as a foundation under there, I may hinder me being successful, but also it may be that I could be far more successful than I am. So this is fundamental. Don't want to discount the other side because it's obviously very important, because even if you have all this, if you don't know how to run a business, then you still got the same issue. It's a different side of the same coin.
Like, I think we say we have friends, and then we have people that we feel connected to, and it does, there's that deepening of it. And at work, loyalty, that's a very good word.
Right.
Because when you're loyal to somebody, you're considerate of them, and
exactly.
Yeah, you want to.
And the way to really make that work is the leader of the company represents and displays these things first, and it trickles down.
Yeah.
Now you can have an effect around you if you're way down inside a company somewhere around your immediate area, but again, if the whole culture of the company is not set that way, it's not nearly as successful as the whole company has a foundation of things they do that create loyalty.
But you know, I've seen offices where people have been there 25 and 30 years, and no one ever leaves, and usually that's because the boss ultimately is just, everybody's crazy about them.
Right. They love the environment. They love they're challenged. They're given, and this goes back to some of the things the earlier consultant was talking about. You give roles and responsibilities. Therefore, you really implement things that are going to help other people be successful. And therefore you challenge them appropriately and all those things, which is fundamental things for anybody to be successful and happy. And I'll state this, I don't know the statisticals, but there are actually numbers on this when it comes to money, because you hear so much about money, and you hear so many people out saying, well, come to my program and I'll show you how to make more money, and you can increase it. And the money. Money, when it comes to working in environments, drops way down on priority list when people are truly being challenged, they're happy, they're well treated, all those things, those far outweigh money in the end. And I'm not discounting money. But when you emphasize that, if you don't have it in the right perspective,
well, let's face it, when you have to replace somebody, it
costs you a lot.
It costs you a lot.
And if you're not leading well, you're not directing well, you just keep turning people over. So anyway, I've got off course. Let's get back to this one right here. Okay. So let's go ahead. Go ahead and pull the first one of the ones up, Jimmy, and I'll look over here and. Because my computer blew up, and so there you got access service, and so what you have there is different ways to do it. I mean, you have an employee that's really worked hard or whatever, and the way to really show an access service is one thing that maybe you send them home early, and you say, let me finish up for you. You've done a great job and everything. You've got it all together here. Why don't you take some time off and let me do that? You know, one here that I put down is like you take the employee, and it's a very small company, and say, you know what, let me have your keys. I'm going to go out and get your car cleaned up for you, because I know you're busy and everything like that, and you've seen their car out in the parking lot or whatever. There's things you can do that really are acts of service that are appropriate for a business environment. Now, you can use your imagination. If I work with a client and we're looking for one of these different ways, let me back up one step here. The reason I'm emphasizing this, if that is the primary love language, I'll lift a key piece out of this. Those five, none of us have all of them the 5 level. The book, if you go and get a book, you can go do this assessment, you find out what your number 1 love language is. And what you're looking at, if you're an employee or an owner of a business or whatever, there are appropriate ways to find out which one of those 5 are the most important to a particular employee. And you, therefore, take action that's one of these 5 based on what speaks to them most. I'll give you an example. My number 1 is affirmations. My number 2 is touch. Gifts for me, when I did the assessment, is 0. You can buy me gifts all day long, and it really doesn't matter to me. And therefore, if I'm not speaking the language that matters to me, it may be that gifts is a big deal to me, so I buy people's gifts like crazy all the time. Well, if they're 0 like I am with gifts, you're not really making anything that's that attractive to them. Nothing wrong with it, but it really isn't speaking to them. So first thing is you want to find ways that are appropriate to identify which one of those 5 really matters the most to the employee. Or say it's an outside service organization. It's somebody that you are a partnership with outside your company, and you want to do something that really creates more of a loyalty and more of a connection. Well, you find out what that primary one is of theirs, and then you take action around it. So anyway, we did the first one. So I kind of threw that in there because I got out of sync here. Now the second one, Jimmy, and again, these are just gifts, okay? So you have a bonus. You give them a ticket to a game, or you find something like a restaurant. You buy a gift certificate and tell them, hey, you've been doing a great job. This could even be a salesperson that calls on you because they really do extra service for you. and you really say, boy, this is a key person to me, because if I call them up and I get an issue or problem, they wait on me, and the reason why they do is because the way I've treated them, and you find out that really that kind of a thing is important to them, you buy them tickets to a play or something, say, take your wife there. It really speaks to them. So that's an example of that one. Now, Jimmy, what's the next one? All right. Words of affirmation. You recognize a group, and what you do there is that you'd say you may call on a group, but what you'd probably do there is point out to someone in that group that affirmation is important, and really point them out in front of the group and tell them, this is specifically what they did. It's a great job. You just see some different examples there, and I think that one I have down at the bottom is be specific. And the reason why, when you're complimenting someone, you talk to them, you can say, hey, you did a great job. That's one thing. But if you tell them, when you did this right here, you really took this extra mile, you took this action, you did this thing here, and this is specifically something that you did that really matters to me. It's a great overall job. And again, if you're dealing with somebody outside your company and they performed a service for you, and it's an affirmation, when you really get specific and say, when you did this right here, this is what this meant to me, is really important. That touches that person. Boy, you knock home runs with these people wherever they are. And keep in mind, back in your marriage, if you're in a dating relationship, when you do things like this and you understand their primary love language, and there it's a more intimate situation, it's the same thing. But it bleeds over in the workplace, no different. Okay, the next one. Jimmy, let's see what we have next. Okay, quality time. If you're really busy, just like I said, sincere conversation in the hallway, you run into one of the employees, you know that they really one-on-one time matters to them. Maybe you can take them to lunch or whatever, but the situations call for different things, that you just stop them in the hallway and you take the time to look them in the eye and ask them how things are going on, or just talk to them, and you spend 5 minutes with them or something like that. That could be longer. It could be like take them out to lunch, meet them for lunch. You could have a couple of people that their quality time matters to them. And again, we'll always be careful about the environment and about the world we live in today, and men and women, and we all know the issues and things that come up there, and they can be misinterpreted. So say there's a woman that really did a great job, that quality time matters to them, but you also got another woman or another man, and say you took them both to lunch or whatever. So I always want to be very cautious here when I talk about these things, about making sure that when it comes to any kinds of conflicts that could be raised because of the genders and things, you just got to be discerning of what you do, but you can find ways.
I know that I met a businessman and when I was networking and doing another radio show, and he was talking about how he felt like no woman should ask, when you call up and ask for an appointment to go out to have lunch, that you should always bring the female should have somebody that goes with them, because he would turn down a invitation if it didn't include somebody else, because he wouldn't want to be seen. Didn't like the situation. And
it could be misinterpreted.
Yeah, and you know what? I never thought about it. I mean, he was being honest, and I can think of the times where somebody thinks, well, I'm modern, that's not going to happen. But there are people out there, and so that is something that you need to be aware of.
I'd rather be discerning and be overcautious than to have something happen that, let's face it, we're human beings, and things can happen.
You ask them out for drinks, and they really think
again, is that a wise thing to do? Yeah. So, let's face it. And that's a whole different subject about how men and women think differently. I could even cover that one sometime about the difference, because what I know, and I found out from a lot of experience, and I'm in a dating relationship right now, and my girlfriend and her daughter have read this book about how men really think or whatever, and they had no clue. And what I realized, most women don't really know how men think.
Yes.
And those kinds of things. It'd be a lot better for us all if we got a little wiser about how both of us really interpret and think things. But anyway, that's off the subject. Yeah. Now, the last one, Jimmy, I've got one more, and that's the physical touch one, and that's one that we really want to be extra cautious on, is a two-handed handshake.